Welcome, students. This is Module 2, and it's the introduction to the editing process and transitions. My name is John Boafudia. I'm a director, producer, video editor, and a team lead for the audiovisual department at Charterhouse. We're going to talk about video transitions. Editing primarily will be joining audio-visual sequences, video, audio, and still pictures into a smooth sequence to conform to a script, a brief, or even an idea into a suitable duration. Now, as an editor, there are two forms of transitions. There's the cut, which is an instantaneous change from one scene or sequence to another. And then we have the opticals. Now, opticals is a broad umbrella, and that's where you have your dissolves, your fade-ins, nowadays we have a lot of fancy opticals. Now, before you would even consider wanting to cut, there are a few things that you need to consider. First is the type of editing style that you've decided for a certain project, based on the brief or the idea or whatever it is that your client have told you. So if, let's say, for example, let me use a documentary. You know, documentaries are more or less a display of actualities. So you have to make it as believable as possible. So most of the time, you are not advised to use a lot of opticals. When you are doing documentaries, primarily you have to use the straight cuts, so that realism can be felt. So before you even decide to choose this cut, once you've identified your editing style, first of all, you need to check if the image size you are going to add onto your edit is good. You also need to check if the sound or audio is clear. You also need to check if the composition of the shot is good. And then finally, if what you are going to add to your edit would develop the story. So these are some of the things that you need to consider as an editor before you try and start any edit whatsoever. A transition is moving from one part of a video sequence, picture sequence, audio sequence to another. So anytime you do that joint, it is called a transition. So in conclusion, anytime you join a picture or video or even audio to another picture, video, or audio, that joint is a transition, and it can either be a cut or an optical. A dissolve is not too different from a crossfade, but the physical appearance of these two transitions would tell you what it is you want to do. So a dissolve is a smooth movement from a picture or a video to another picture or video. It's very smooth, it's almost seamless, and it's gradual, and you move from one part of the video or picture to another. It's like one picture melts into the other. So that's the dissolve. Now a crossfade, if you're doing a crossfade with audio, it's quite difficult to, notice the difference between that and a dissolve. But with picture, you will notice it. The two images overlap each other. So as one is fading out, the other one is fading in. So sometimes you can get a bit of black, and that will make you know the difference between a dissolve and then a crossfade. When you decide an editing style for any project, you also need to have in mind the types of transitions you want to use to help bring out the beauty of that project as an editor. For example, cuts. The reason why you want to use a cut, and that can even go for some other opticals, is because one, you want to develop the story. Now, there's something that is called a jump cut, which is trying to cut from one image size, maybe say a close-up, into another image size, which is also a close-up. If you do that cut in editing or in film language, it's called a jump cut. However, you can still use a jump cut to tell time lapse. So let me explain something to you. Let's say someone is putting on an attire, put on the top, the down, whatever it is. If you allow this entire sequence to play, it could last maybe like 5-7 minutes, but you can use a straight cut So maybe we see the person picking the shirt. The next cut, he has the shirt on. The next cut, we see him picking the pants. The next cut, the pants is on. The next cut, the belt is on. Yes, you are using that to tell time lapse, even though it is a jump cut, but it works perfectly. So in a situation like that, you can use cuts to, do this kind of edits. Apart from showing time lapse with, let's say, a cut, you can use a cut to develop the story, like I rightfully said. Because if, let's say, you are doing an action edit, there's a punch in one picture. The next cut, we are supposed to see the punch land. So if, let's say, the first cut, the first shot is, say, a medium shot, the next one that you need to join will be maybe a close-up or an extreme close-up of the punch landing. So therefore, you need a transition, which here is a cut because it's an action edit. You need to understand the types of edits. And some of these things also will inform the type of transition you use. To mention a few, we have action edits, we have elliptical edits, we have form edits. These things can, if you understand them, these things can also inform the type of transitions you use in your edit. You can use a dissolve to tell time lapse. You can use a dissolve to augment emotions in an edit, because you have the luxury of stretching the dissolve. So it dissolves smoothly, and then we see that, the person, they cry, then you go dissolve into another part, with the benefit of sound. It also augments, the emotional feeling of that edit. You can equally use dissolves to move from one part of an editing sequence into another smoothly. So when I say time lapse, for example, let's say there's a long shot of Accra. You can see like a drone shot of Accra. And then you dissolve into, let's say, a house, a long shot of a house. Then you can dissolve further into the house, seeing somebody sitting down, maybe drinking tea. You don't need to show that entire shot of the drone coming all the way down to establish the house and get in there, and then we see the person drinking tea. So with that, you can use it to break time, but you are still helping the story to develop. Yeah. And now when it comes to the other opticals, music videos, allows one to be wild. You can be avant-garde. Once you can explain what you're doing, it's allowed. So for example, music videos, you can use series of dissolves, quick dissolves. Then you can enter into a straight cut. You come back, and then, these fancy ones that have come, wipes and all those things. So when it comes to music video, it's not really strict as compared to, let's say, you editing a feature film or a documentary, stuff like that. Even adverts also allow some of these flexibilities. In conclusion, there's one fundamental error people who learn or who are learning editing do. Everybody wants to go quickly onto the machine. What would make you stand out from other editors is to understand the theory of editing before you go onto the bench. That will make you different. The person who knows how to do the job will get it done. But the one who knows why will forever be your boss. So you've joined 2 shots, it be. But why did you join those 2 shots? If you can't explain that, then we have a problem. So focus more on the theory aspect, and then once you get onto the machine, it's simple, it's seamless, and don't be scared to try and break rules. Try it. Try breaking rules. There are a lot of things about editing you won't find in the books. It is through the experience that you get it. Thank you very much.